hot out here.
Yeah, I agree. You want to get some water?
Yeah, we should probably go get some water.
Let's do it. Oh, you lay your gun on top of mine? Dude, they melted together. Hey, I'm Featherrun, and I got good news and I got bad news. The bad news is Daewoo is gone. The good news, they've become S&T Motive, and they're looking to re-import the Daewoo rifles again, and we haven't seen these bad boys since the 90s. This is a bit of a holy grail for me, especially with this rail. Let's talk about them. Let's see what makes them tick. For the uninitiated, the Daewoo is a long-stroke gas piston based off the AR-15 and is the perfect hybrid of the AR and the AK. This one's a DR200, which is the civilian ban-era import version of the K2 of the Korean military. Imported by Kimber in the 90s during the ban. They're pretty good and they're not impossible to find, but the real score here is going to be the MITS rail on top because those are export banned in Korea and are currently unobtainium. I keep referencing the ban, and in case you don't know what I'm talking about, in 1994, Congress passed the assault weapons ban. It lasted for 10 years from 94 and sunset in 2004. And basically what it meant is that the K2 and other stuff like that couldn't come into the country, and some of those guns couldn't be produced or sold here as well. What it didn't do is affect any of the guns already made. So if you had a K2, it was totally legal. This DR200 came in during that time of the ban. It came in a neutered sporter configuration, which I will show right here. Basically, it had to have a thumbhole stock, a featureless muzzle, and a 20-inch barrel. A lot of younger folks getting into guns these days don't know about the ban because if you were anything like me between 94 and 2004, you were either not born or a child. The ban was a bit of a silly time because all the pre-ban stuff ended up being grandfathered in, so if you had the scary gun that they had banned, there was really no issue with you owning it, you just couldn't get a new one made after that date. Before the 80s, Korea was using an M16A1 that they were producing under license from Colt, and they weren't really happy with that solution. They were paying a lot of money for each rifle to make them in-house, and they felt that they could do better. It was also a bit of a pride project for them to produce something that they had built for their own military rather than relying on an American rifle. The M16 itself still had some growing pains in Vietnam just recently at this point, and the AK was really popular still, especially in that area, and was lauded for its reliability. So they mashed the two together, just like my intro. They took all the machining and the familiar parts that made the M16, and they turned it into something similar, but evolved for their own military. In comes the K2.
Very Gihoon.
To tear this thing down, it's not unlike an AR. You just, instead of having a pin, you have this button up here. There's a locking bit you have to push to the back to then bring this forward and open it up just like an AR. Your spring, similar to the AK, bolt carrier group and charging handle, slots to the back, pulls right out. Then you can get the rest of it. Comes out in two pieces. You can see that the carrier group itself is very clearly a derivative of the AR-15. It's just cut to be smaller basically. And then where the gas key is, it's replaced with a slot for the piston to go into. There's also a channel here at the bottom for the fixed ejector to ride along because they got rid of the spring-loaded one. The piston is almost just like an AK-1. It's a little smaller, but it's got that same two-piece design where it's connected right here. These are two different chunks, and it slots in to your carrier just like that. Charging handle sits in there. To put it all back together, put your cam pin into the forward position, hold them together, slide it all in just like such. You've then got to line it up to get your charging handle back in there, just like an AR-18. In, forward, spring, make sure that locking piece is back so you can close it, and there you go. For my target setup, I've got a gate to shoot off of, a VTAC, some paper close, and then way down there is going to be targets out to 250 yards. So I don't have a whole lot of time behind this gun yet, but that being said, as long as your eyes aren't cursed or astigmatic, with a basic red dot at 250 yards and a good zero, you should be able to ring steel all day, every day if it's full-size torsos like I'm shooting. I've gotten first-round impacts at 300 yards with red dots on 5.56 AKs at 12.5-inch barrels, so this 18-inch gun here really makes things a whole lot easier. It's just zinging rounds out there. The only target I wasn't holding dead on for was going to be the ones at 250. For the full-size steel, I was just below belt buckle, and for the mini one, I shot a little bit off camera. I had to hold about 3/4 of a target low. The trigger's neither helping me or harming me. It's the stock one, and it seems to be on the better side of the mil-spec trigger. Nothing fantastic to write home about. And these guns take AR triggers standard, so I will drop a nicer one in this later. Overall, this thing performs exactly as you'd expect at distance with a red dot, and it helps that it's chambered in the Lord's caliber, and no, I don't mean 45 ACP. I don't care about 2 world wars, I'm more concerned with the 3rd and the 2nd Civil. In Minecraft. Something to note, the old K2s and DR200s are 1 in 12 twist, which means this ammo that I'm shooting is 55 grain. If I were to shoot 62 grain or higher, I'd get keyholes because that twist rate can't stabilize rounds that heavy. The new ones that are going to come in the country should have a 1 in 7.3 twist rate, which is a little strange, but still close to 1 in 7, which is standard. They also said they're going to offer parts kits, so if you have a DR200 or K2 and you want to rebarrel it, that should be an option for you. These barrels aren't particularly hard to take out, not much different than an AR, honestly. My only real complaint here, in regards to the gun and not the furniture or some of the auxiliary stuff, is that the handguard only extends so far, about out to the gas block, and with how much spare barrel is sticking out in front of the gas block and the handguard, it gives you a whole lot of surface area to rest that barrel up against something and possibly shift your point of aim if you're going for extreme accuracy at distance. And that accuracy loss will matter at distances where you want to use heavier than 55 grain rounds, which you can't do with this gun anyway. So it seems to be not well optimized for distance until we get those spare barrels in the country. That being said, if you want to go long and you're stuck with 55 grain, the 18-inch barrel on this gun is a whole hell of a lot better than a 16-inch barrel or 14.5 on most AR-15s we've got. 5.56 is a very velocity-dependent round, and that matters even more so in the lower grain weights, especially if you're shooting M193. It's not quite as heavy as an AK. It's looking at AR light. It's still pretty well balanced. I'm not getting too much heat. It's definitely getting a little toasty. But it's not like any AK system where I'd be Michael Jackson left gloving it right now. And on the weight difference, the Daewoo clocks in as you see it here at 8 pounds 6 ounces compared to 8 pounds 10 ounces of this AR. Do keep in mind that my Griffin, Psionics, and Centurion Mongrel build has a heavy profile barrel and a big LPVO on top, compared to the much lighter Aimpoint RDS on the Daewoo. I'm not going to say it's better than an AR-15. It definitely shoots like an over-gassed one, but it doesn't feel like that slow ka-chunk back and forth of a full AK. The piston is reduced in size compared to an AK, so the whole mass of the carrier assembly is actually a lot less. More than an AR-15, less than an AK. And the adjustable gas is also quite nice. I keep it in the lowest setting and it cycles fine, but in a pinch, it's got 2 higher settings than what I'm using and 1 off for launching rifle grenades, which I haven't got. One of the biggest issues from a usability standpoint for me was that this safety was originally a 180-degree throw. That safety's a bitch, dude. So you had to break your grip to pivot that thing all the way around just to get it to fire on semi. So Stormworks makes a 90-degree safety module, and that made it much more at home to an AR-15 platform. It's got a nice big knob to get your thumb on it to actuate it. The charging handle on this gun is also pretty small, so if you want to grab it, if you've got some kind of QD mechanism here, you might skin your knuckles up, and this rear sight adjustment, you can also skin your knuckle on that as well and bump your sight. So that needs to be changed. Again, Pierce Precision makes a part for that I'm gonna get, and that'll be a fantastic upgrade for this. Just needs a few small things to bring it into a more ergonomic modern age. K2s originally had an 18-inch barrel, but because these came in during the ban and they had to be 20, a cone, basically a featureless muzzle device, was silver soldered on to 1100 degrees, which, if you didn't know, is an ATF accepted way to get a muzzle device on there permanently other than pin and weld. For conversion parts in the back, it's wearing some Ace stuff. This pistol grip is a decent clone of a K2 one. It's not all that great. And then the stock is also an Ace stock. It's fine, I'll replace it later. It does have, for some reason, a saw style fold out, which I'll never use, but damn if that doesn't look cool. The real score here was the MITS rail, because like I said, these are export banned in South Korea, so they can't send them out to us anymore. It's a free floated piece that connects the original triangle handguard and links up and gives you an optic mounting solution on top. The DR200s and the K2s have two bosses right there, because in the 80s when they built this, they didn't really have an optic solution for it, but they knew they wanted one for down the road. This mounts into the top of the receiver with those, and also clamps around the upper with a clamshell design here. Mine is wearing an Aimpoint RDS, the most mid red dot in the mid tier of the market. On the front, it's got an Arisaka light setup and a scope bumper, which is just a 100 Concepts alternative. Shout out to some local North Carolina boys. And that's the setup. Surefire pressure pad, which is zip tied on. And as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but always fuck with it if you want to. This is a Magpul MVG that's been cut down to just what you need to make it a really great and comfy hand stop. So buying old discontinued band guns wasn't always the best idea due to parts availability, but with SNT Motive coming back and should be making parts available again, these are getting new life breathed into them. Your safe queens can come out of the safe and get run. Now, it remains to be seen if they're actually going to come back, so temper your expectations. If you remember SHOT Show from 2024, they teased an FNC from the Philippines, I think, and that never materialized, but SNT Motive is still talking to people and still signaling their intention to come back. I'm not going to blame you if you're going to wait for the parts to come back in along with the new K2s, because that's the military rifle, and that's what everyone wants. These DR200s are just neutered versions, and if you do hunt one of those down, you're going to have to pay some money to get that cone removed, to get new furniture for the back and for the pistol grip. But I jumped on this one because of the MITS rail and the price it was at. It's a pretty good rifle. I mean, it's no AR-15, but as an AK shooter, I feel right at home on this, honestly, and I need to get back on the train for rifle shooting, but damn if this is going to be a fun gun to do it on. In a month and a half here, I'll go shoot Carolina Carbine Classic at the Clinton House. That'll be a fantastic way to get back on the wagon for rifle shooting, and this will be a really good gun to do it with. So AR-15s are dirt cheap these days, and you can't really beat that. AKs are getting priced out due to the ammo scarcity and the Ukraine conflict, but if these had come in during the ban in higher numbers, or they hadn't stopped importation of them, they would honestly be on par with the AR and the AK for love they'd have in this country. They're just that good of a rifle. I'm not saying they're better than either of those two platforms, but they certainly hold their own against the AR and the AK, and those are the premier intermediate caliber rifles of not only America, but the entire world. This is only the beginning of the Daewoo content you've seen on this channel, and if I could pass one message along to you, it would be I don't care if you shoot this or something else, go train. As always, I'll post my Instagram right here. I have been Feather Run. Thank you for watching, and take it easy.